been touted over the past. I absolutely take a full disagreement with that posture because I think the value of a college degree is priceless. In fact, it's worth even the debt burden today that most students would incur if the proposition were, would you rather have the 4-year or the college degree, but not have it because of the debt? I think most people would end up evaluating in that perspective and saying, well, it's really not the debt burden, but it's what my capacity is going to be with that education to put it to good use, because my dad used to say, there's no room in your casket for money. I mean, money's not the most important thing in life. And then, like Ronald Reagan, he'd kind of cock his head to the right and he'd wink a bit and he'd say, but it's well ahead of what's in third place. The idea that the value of an education is more than just what your earning power might be, but it's how much life's enjoyment is going to be worth to you. And maybe when you're just starting out to matriculate and go to college, maybe you don't appreciate that. Maybe you don't see ahead far enough to know, what's it really going to be worth to me if I have the grit, the determination, the perspicuity, the focus to really get after it and make those sacrifices that you're going to have to make to get to college and then to finish college, and then actually you'll look back on the comforts of college and wish you were still there. Because believe me, for most of us it gets more demanding even after that, and perhaps there are even more trepidation as you reach circumstances of job decisions and job moves and promotions and or the absence of those things if there are dreams that you don't quite attain each and every time you aspire to them. So the value of a college education today is priceless in my view. You can't put a dollar sign on it. You can read all the data that says if you have that degree it's worth X amount more over a lifetime than if you don't, or that if you have just 2 years it's worth so much, and if you just have high school, your earning power so much. And there's some validity to that assessment, but it shouldn't be the full measure of how you evaluate. In Nebraska, I think now the number's about 21,000 students actually graduate from high school in all of the high schools in Nebraska, private, public, public. Of that number, only half go on to take 1 credit hour more of some kind of further education. In the community college, Peru, Chadron, Wayne. Don't forget, besides Nebraska and Creighton and the College of St. Mary's and Bellevue University, there's Hastings and Doane and Wesleyan. You can just go down the list. There's a lot of post-secondary education offered in Nebraska. And of those 12,000 students then that will go on to college, some of them go away to other schools outside of Nebraska. So think about all the institutions I just named competing for those 12,000 students. There's 50,000 enrolled at the University of Nebraska. How many enrolled here? 500. If you kept adding it up around, you start to say, well, that doesn't compute. How can we propagate that many institutions of post-secondary educational offering with only 12,000 people coming out of high school? Now you can multiply that times 4 because there's a continuum, right? High school, you add some number, 12,000 minus however many would apply and enroll in Nebraska institutions, times 4 or 5 or 6 over that rotation, which gives you some idea of how Nebraska, for example, university has 50,000 students. Part of that is offering the right education in the right place for your circumstance. The other part of it is retaining that once that person's enrolled. The competitive environment is how well you like where you enrolled and how well you're doing and how your affordability factor is working out and other things that equate to a decision. I'm going to stay for my second year and then progress to graduation. So if you looked at the data nationwide, today, at age 18, there are 95 students. 10 years ago, there were 100 students. So there's another factor here. It's the baby boom bust cycle, right? Fewer births and fewer deaths. We're living healthier, longer lives. That's why I'm depending on each one of you in this room, because Social Security is important. So I need to work hard at paying that for a long And so the function of the numbers is changing, right? Fewer births, fewer deaths, fewer people reaching age 18, fewer people graduating from high school, fewer people in the workforce, generally, which means that post-secondary education is even more important today than it ever has been, because fewer workers, fewer skills, fewer people in the GDP bucket producing our domestic product, our productivity measurement, although there's an argument about that measurement probably isn't very accurate today, and there's some truth to that, but comparatively we use the GDP. That means each one of us has to be more productive per person, or over the cycle, our standard of living is going to decline. You have to have the productivity increase. If there's fewer of us doing it, it means that more productivity is going to be acquired for each of us. How do you get there? There's no doubt about it. Is there anybody that argues that education isn't the answer to all of that? So furthering your education is the key. It increases each of our abilities to be more productive.